Pay attention to Bianca Devins, 17 years old, smiling in the passenger seat as she leaves a concert in New York City on July 13th, 2019. She has less than 4 hours left to live. Because Brandon Clark, 21, the Lyft driver she trusted as a friend, is driving her home with a knife hidden in his car and murder in his heart. On this day, Bianca dreams of college and her future as an artist. On this day, Brandon has already made his checklist for killing her. This is the story of one night that changed everything. Bianca Devins wasn't just a 17-year-old from Utica, New York. She was a talented artist, an aspiring model, and a beloved big sister to Sophia and Nora. Her grandfather, Harold, describes her with pride, still breaking through his grief. She was very smart, very intuitive, and self-aware. But Bianca's journey hadn't been easy. At 9 years old, separation anxiety sent her to her first therapist. By 13, depression began casting shadows over her bright spirit. At 16, doctors diagnosed her with borderline personality disorder, an illness that brought extreme mood swings and affected how she saw herself. Social media became her escape. Online, Bianca could be whoever she wanted to be. She created multiple Instagram accounts, built a massive presence on Discord, and became what the internet calls an e-girl, someone with edgy aesthetics, colorful hair, and a carefully curated dark persona. Reporter E.J. Riley Hayes, who covered her story for Rolling Stone, explains, "It's a very edgy, dark aesthetic with different colored hair." Her mother, Laura Voss, knew about the online presence, but not its depth. Granddaughters do not share their online presence with their grandfathers, Harold admits with sad humor. But beneath the edgy exterior, Bianca was fighting for her mental health and winning. She sought treatment. She returned to being a devoted sister. The family celebrated. Bianca's back. That's our girl. By 2019, Bianca had graduated high school, was immersing herself in her art, and getting noticed as a promising young model. She really felt good about herself when she was modeling, her grandfather remembers. There was a glow in her eyes when she talked about college and her future. But Bianca also maintained an active presence on 4chan, described by Hayes as, on the darker side of the web, an incredibly misogynistic space. There, she attracted male followers called orbiters, so named because they orbit attractive girls online, never getting close but always watching. Bianca's online friend Clara recalls, Bianca was exceptionally patient and accessible to her orbiters, to a fault at times. One orbiter captured more than just Bianca's attention. On paper, Brandon Clark was unremarkable. 21 years old, a Lyft driver, just another guy in the online communities Bianca frequented. Clara remembers him as nothing notable, just kind of like a normal, one of these weird guys in the community. When Brandon and Bianca met on Instagram in May 2019, their relationship quickly moved offline. They dated briefly, but were never exclusive. Bianca had made it clear to Brandon that she was not interested in a committed, monogamous relationship at this point. Prosecutor Sarah D'Amelio would later testify. And Brandon had seemed to accept that. Laura Voss saw no red flags. When Brandon came around, and he came around often, he just looked like a goofy, nerdy boy next door. So when Bianca told her mother Brandon was taking her to a concert in New York City on July 13th, Laura felt relieved. "I took a little comfort in knowing she would be with Brandon, because I trusted him." Bianca left excited, texting her mom after the concert to say she was heading home. It was her first real adult concert, and she'd enjoyed her newfound freedom after graduating just 2 weeks earlier. But beneath Brandon's goofy exterior, something dark was growing. What happened next was pure evil, a meticulously planned murder disguised as a night out with friends. July 14th, 2019, dawned beautiful in Utica. The city buzzed with excitement for the Boilermaker Road Race, a well-known 15 kelvins bringing runners from across the world. As the first participants crossed the finish line, detectives Ethan Crow and Derek Vossler heard alarming reports of a possible murder. But the reports weren't coming from Utica, they were coming from everywhere. Clara woke up that morning to her group chat buzzing. I looked at it and it was a photo of my friend, and it looked like she was dead. The messages said someone on Discord had posted that Bianca was dead. And I was like, what? On Discord, posting disturbing images to get reactions was common. It was certainly within the realm of possibility that this could have been faked, Hayes explains. Many in the community assumed it was a hoax, another fake death for attention, but people across the country were calling 911 after seeing the photos. "Good morning, someone may have been murdered," one caller tells Dispatch. "I'm on an online group and somebody posted a picture of someone murdered, and I believe it to be a Miss Bianca Michelle Devins." Laura Voss was home when police arrived. Her daughter Sophia answered the door. "Mom, the police are here. There's something going on with Bianca." Officers didn't show Laura the photos circulating online, but they feared her daughter was in danger. "Can you try to get a hold of your daughter?" they asked. Laura was confused. Bianca had texted after the concert saying she was coming home. "I didn't know where Bianca was." Then the police radios crackled with new information. Brandon Clark had called 911. "My name is Brandon. The victim is Bianca Michelle Devins. I'm going to kill myself." The officer at the Devins home turned to Laura. "He's made statements saying that he hurt your daughter." Laura couldn't process it. "It didn't make sense to me." "I remember just being very confused that they were saying Brandon may have hurt her. It just didn't make sense that he would have hurt her." Investigators turned their attention to finding Brandon Clark, who had posted more disturbing pictures of Bianca, including one with the message, "I'm sorry, Bianca." "We were fighting against time," Detective Coromado recalls. "We needed to find her, and we needed to find her fast." The dispatcher kept Brandon talking, trying to pinpoint his location. "Just stay on the line with me, okay?" "No, I'm not going to stay on the line with you. I'm going to be dead on the ground." But before hanging up, Brandon told them exactly where to find him, a dead-end road not far from Bianca's home. When officers arrived, Brandon was armed with a knife. "What are you doing, man? Put the knife down," the officer commanded, gun drawn. As backup arrived, Brandon slashed himself with the knife, then took a selfie and posted it to social media with the caption, "To ashes." After a brief struggle, officers disarmed Brandon and placed him under arrest. As paramedics raced to save his life, investigators made a grim discovery beneath a tarp, the body of a young woman. Detective Coromado knew immediately. "The news has got this, so you better send somebody to the mom's house to give her a heads up." But they were too late. Sophia was in the kitchen with her friend when they heard the most excruciating scream that you've ever heard come out of a teenager. Someone had texted Bianca's family the horrific photo. "I just kept screaming, 'It's not her, it's not my baby,'" Laura remembers. "I knew it was her, and I said to myself, I'm going to be strong, get my family through this." This wasn't a whodunit. They knew who did it. Investigators had to work backwards to figure out why. At the crime scene, every detail meant something. Brandon had spray-painted a cryptic message, "May you never forget me." Prosecutors Sarah D'Amelio and Michael Nolan Googled it. The phrase came from Pun Pun, a series of dark, violent Japanese comic books that Brandon and Bianca had read together. "It's almost a Japanese dark version of Romeo and Juliet," Nolan explains. "Does he have some very skewed picture that his relationship with Bianca is a star-crossed lovers scenario?" More chilling was the music. Using a Bluetooth speaker, Brandon had programmed his phone to play one song on repeat, Test Drive by Joji, about someone more invested in a relationship than their partner. But nothing prepared investigators for what they found on Brandon's cell phone. The day after the murder, prosecutors went to the Utica Police Department. Overnight, investigators had conducted a forensic analysis of Brandon's phone. "They set us up with a computer, some speakers, and some headphones, and pushed play," D'Amelio remembers. "That's when we see that there is a video made by Brandon of him killing Bianca." The video showed Bianca sleeping in the back seat. Brandon had clipped his camera to the dashboard vent. He reached into the back, retrieved a knife he'd hidden, and woke Bianca up. He asked about Alex, another young man who'd joined them at the concert. Brandon had seen Bianca kiss him. "You know, I saw you kiss him, right?" Brandon said. Bianca apologized. "I'm sorry is not good enough," he responded. Bianca reminded him they weren't exclusive. "Are you ready to take me home yet?" At this point, with Brandon realizing this might be the end of the time they're going to spend together, we see him grab the knife, D'Amelio says. She does not see it coming. After the brutal attack, Brandon screamed into the camera. "Bianca, why did you make me do this?" He blamed her, but it wasn't her fault. "I think it wasn't until that very moment that we realized this was probably the most horrible, terrible thing that either of us have ever seen in our life," D'Amelio says. The video wasn't the only damning evidence. 2 days before killing Bianca, Brandon had typed a sinister checklist in his phone's notes app. "Set up speaker and last song?" He'd conducted internet searches the day before the murder, how to choke someone out, how to hit the carotid artery to kill someone. Brandon had this planned, Nolan states firmly. He had the video staged, he had the phone staged, he knew exactly what he was doing. "We believe that when this relationship came to an end was when he was going to kill her. Brandon wanted to be with Bianca, she didn't want to be with him, and he wasn't going to let anybody else have her," D'Amelio explains. So no matter what she said, she was going to wind up dead that night. Laura Voss tortures herself with the proximity. "I was 10 minutes away if she had just been able to get out of that car." But Brandon caught her completely off guard. Harold finds solace in one fact. She fought back. "What impressed me most was she fought for her life." If Brandon's crime ended with murder, it would have been horrific enough. But what came next turned tragedy into an ongoing digital nightmare. The photos Brandon posted didn't stay on Discord. They spread to Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, shared by thousands. Some people made memes, others turned them into jokes. They were sent to me, they were sent to various family members. Laura says, her voice breaking, "This is a form of psychological terrorism." Bianca's supporters tried fighting back, posting beautiful images of clouds, bunnies, and ribbons under her hashtag to push the death photos down in search results. But every time a platform removed an image, another appeared. Unfortunately, extremely violent and disturbing images can circulate wildly on social media, Hayes explains. A lot of social media platforms don't have the infrastructure in place to prevent that from happening. The images stayed on Instagram and Facebook for at least 2 weeks. Laura pleaded with the companies to remove them, describing the experience as heartbreaking and exploitative. "I just thought of how embarrassed she would be, how heartbroken she would be. But worse than the photos was the harassment that followed." Along with the photos came hateful messages blaming Bianca for her own murder, many too graphic to show. Online communities of men called incels, short for involuntary celibates, celebrated Brandon's actions. Behavioral scientist Marcus Eldridge explains, "Incels are individuals, men 21 or older, who have gone 6 months or longer without any sort of sexual activity, not by their own volition. They see themselves as victims in a never-ending struggle to win the affection of attractive women, whom they call Stacies." Bianca would be considered a Stacy, Eldridge confirms. Though Brandon didn't identify as an incel, the community praised him. "The incel feels badly cheated to the point where it becomes just an obsessive thought that I need to strike back for the unfairness," Eldridge says. This violent rhetoric has led to murder before. Since 2014, the intelligence community believes there have been more than a dozen mass killings in North America, resulting in 50 deaths attributed to incel ideology. It's recognized now as a terrorist threat, Eldridge warns. Incel forums discussing Bianca's death were filled with comments like, "I wonder who's going to be next, and I can't wait for the next victim." Clara and other young women in Bianca's online community realized they could be targets too. "We all knew that we were in the line of fire. I was honestly afraid to leave my house." 2 weeks after the murder, Brandon Clark made his first public appearance wearing an orange jumpsuit and protective vest. He was charged with second-degree murder and pleaded not guilty. "I was in court when they brought him in and I said, 'He just looks pathetic,'" Laura remembers. The defense considered an extreme emotional disturbance defense, but prosecutors weren't buying it. Investigators and prosecutors describe him as just an evil person that wanted to murder someone, Hayes reports. And that's who Brandon is. He is a murderer, he is evil. Shortly before his trial in February 2020, Brandon changed his plea to guilty. "I know that sorry is not enough. I know that I won't take back what I did," he said, claiming he wanted to spare the family from seeing murder details at trial. "Did you believe him?" reporters asked Laura. "I don't believe him. She was right to be suspicious." 5 months later, Brandon tried to change his plea back to not guilty. The request infuriated the Devins family, who had already endured so much. Laura knew why. He found out that there were media and production companies interested in Bianca's story, and he wanted to be able to tell his side. When Brandon took the stand months later, he blamed his former attorney, Owen Kingsley, a well-respected public defender, for pressuring him into pleading guilty. "I was a first-time offender and had no knowledge of the legal system," Brandon claimed. On the stand, Kingsley demolished the argument. "I went to the Oneida County Jail 15 times prior to this plea. There were moments where I spent 4 or 5 hours with him." Kingsley said he actually encouraged Brandon to go to trial, but Brandon refused and chose to plead guilty himself. During cross-examination, prosecutor Victor Lang finished the job. "You're making claims that Mr. Kingsley didn't do his job, but you don't know that, correct? With the resources I was provided, it looks like he did not do his job." "And again, what law school did you go to, Mr. Clark?" "I did not go to law school." "Right, so you don't know that, correct? Thank you." The judge denied Brandon's request to withdraw his guilty plea. On March 16, 2021, nearly 2 years after Bianca was murdered, Brandon was brought in for sentencing. Bianca's mother and grandfather had been waiting a long time to face her killer. "With the death of your child comes the most unimaginable, indescribable pain," Laura told the court. "A pain that time cannot heal and only seems to worsen." Harold addressed Brandon directly. "For the cruel manner in which you took my granddaughter's life, for the total disregard you had for a human life, for the callous act in which you posted pictures of her murdered body on social media to gratify your own selfish purposes, you, Brandon, deserve to spend the rest of your life in prison." Before sentencing, Brandon gave a statement. "I hate myself for what I did. I'm so sorry that I put everyone through this. I'm so sorry that I put Bianca through this. I wish I could apologize to her and just apologize and just take it back. Did you believe his apology? Did you think it was sincere at all? Reporters asked. No, not sincere, Laura replied. That's part of his story, to play, oh, poor me. It's not about what he did to Bianca. It's all about him. The judge appeared unmoved by Brandon's apology and gave him the maximum sentence, 25 years to life. But after he serves those 25 years, Brandon could be eligible for parole. He'll be in his late 40s. Did Bianca receive justice? Reporters asked. No, Laura said firmly. Justice would be Bianca being alive. Justice for Bianca now takes a different form. Her family has turned grief into action, working with politicians to pass Bianca's law, legislation that would hold social media companies accountable for violent and graphic content on their platforms. Today, we are putting social media companies on notice. Then, Congressman Julian Merrick announced. We are taking substantive action on the federal level to bring the Devins family peace and ensure this never happens to another family again. We look at that as a start for a series of laws and policies that would prevent death photos like Bianca's from being put up on social media, Laura says. The family has also established a scholarship in Bianca's name for students pursuing careers in mental health, honoring Bianca's own struggles and her desire to help others. Downtown Utica lit up in pink after Bianca's death. At a candlelight vigil, supporters sang Puff the Magic Dragon, the song Harold sang to Bianca as a child, and she sang to her baby sister Nora. How do you want Bianca to be remembered? Reporters asked Laura. I want Bianca to be remembered for her smile, for her bright spirit, for her huge, caring heart. Bianca always wanted to help someone, even in her worst struggles. When she couldn't help herself, she helped others, and she will never ever be forgotten. Harold echoes the sentiment, remembering the pictures not as fictitious movie stills, but as images of a lovely, beautiful girl whose life was taken from her in a cruel way. Bianca Devins was 17 years old when she died. She dreamed of college, of becoming a psychologist who could help others struggling with mental health. She was a talented artist, an aspiring model, a devoted big sister, and a beloved granddaughter. She deserved so much more than 25 years to life could ever repay. But her legacy lives on in every young person who receives her scholarship, in every law that might protect future victims, and in every family who finds comfort knowing they're not alone in fighting against the darkest corners of our digital age. This is Bianca's story, and it will never be forgotten.